Okay. Hey, how you doing? Trying to get off of caffeine. I don't know if I like this or not. I think it sucks, actually. Um, I love doing videos, especially on the topics. Well, let me move the fireplace back here a little bit without getting burned. I love doing videos on the topics um, that, well, none of the rest of these YouTube knuckleheads, a lot of photography people, are actually talking about. And I went back, I don't know if you know this about me. If you've been with me for a while, you know this. I went to photography school, Southeast Center for Photographic Studies, located down in Daytona Beach. Um, Grew up with film. I even worked for the nursing department, University of Kentucky, where they actually needed a lot of prints. In other words, like gross pictures of things that doctors, like people are becoming doctors, like, oh, this is a gross tumor. Spent a lot of time in the darkroom. Anyway, I saw the transition from film to digital. I mean, I've been around. I'm, what am I, 47 years old now? Not that old. But here's something that none of these people are saying, and it's extremely pithy and an important realization, is that there was a transformation that occurred when digital came onto the scene and actually broke open. And I think it actually broke open completely when the Nikon D3 hit. I mean, the D2 is a pooper. All of those, I remember those digital backs that Kodak was making for like 8008 level Nikon film cameras. You'd actually pop the back off, and it was this, like, I don't know, 200 kilobyte image. It was basically for photojournalism to stick in print. But when digital really hit, what happened is, and this is mirrored today, and I'm getting to it very quickly. What happened is that all the film stuff, and I worked in several camera stores, and I saw this also, and one of my favorite cameras, I love Olympus actually, was there, Olympus used to make, and I forget the name of it, I own two of them. It's really, really compact. It was a fixed lens camera, it's a film camera. But all the little dinky cameras, this is not a film camera, this is a dinky, actually I call them pointing. Actually, I can't tell you on film here, in video, what I call these things. Point and poops. Let me say the nicer version. Point and poop cameras. Film point and poops. All the amateur level cameras, they died off very rapidly, but what stuck around for a long time, and is still around today, like large format, and I shot large format. I actually had a Calumet 4x5 and some really neat large format lenses, and I had borrow of an 8x10, and man, there's nothing more magical than like an E6 chrome. Anyway, I'm reminiscing here like an old person does. I'm not that old. That stuff is still stuck around today. However, the film has become astronomically expensive for large format. But point being is that when digital really hit the scene, and that breaking point was right around the time of the Nikon D3. Because when the D3 hit, everybody's like, screw it, film is dead. Essentially dead. When we say film is dead, and I've said film is dead a million times, what it means is that 98+% film is dead. And film is dead. We are getting to be a busier and busier society, right? We're all walking around with these little douchey devices, whether it's a Samsung or an iPhone. Who gives a damn? We're lazy. We don't have time for BS anymore. We want it instantly. The entire world has become, we gotta have it now immediately. Everything is like shipped overnight, even if you don't need it overnight. Yeah, we've all become people that want stuff immediately, and we become lazy. You know that, and I know that. That's not a point of contention. Nobody likes processing film. I mean, it's kind of fun when you're processing an amazing image, especially when it's large format. But the point being is that when digital really hit and everybody, pulled their head out of the toilet, even if they're a hardcore film fanboy, it's like, yeah, this is it. Film is basically dead. The stuff that stuck around for a while, it still has stuck around, is the professional stuff. All the dinky crap went away. Psht. It did. Literally film cameras like this, and this is not a film camera, but one's just like this. My Olympus camera was not much bigger than this. It was a film 35mm. Very, very compact 35mm. I love that thing, actually. Really. Man, Olympus made great point and shoot cameras. All of that stuff died. Now we're into of course, digital. We're still in digital, but we've actually come to iPad, the iPhone, Samsung. I like to call them scam dungs, by the way. Actually, I did Apple tech support, just as a side note. and the water cooler, we called it. People work for Apple. We all the people that do Apple tech support, by the way, in the back rooms, they call them scam dungs, which I think is rather funny. Anyway, we've actually got a new digital age now where everything is instant. We can all post our garbage to Instagram and Facebook. You know that? I know that, right? So it's a new age of digital, and what's going to happen, and of course this really ties into what the news about Olympus today, where the CEO, the president of Olympus, implied that, yeah, Olympus is probably up for sale. Is that just like in the days of film, and of course the hardcore film, really hardcore professional film stuff is still stuck in there, yeah? And Nikon was still making some hardcore film. After digital like really hit hard, Nikon was making just the high-end super professional. And this is actually a great quote from Jay Leno. And he's a very brilliant guy, you know, the guy with the big chin. He said something very intelligent. He's this guru car collector. I mean, God knows how many thousands of cars he owns. And of course, he collects steam cars, and he collects, gas cars, and I think he even has a few electric cars, maybe. But it's a very intelligent statement that also applies to photography. And his statement is that the last days of old technology are always better than the new days of new technology, and that's extremely succinct. But we're still in digital now, but due to iPhones and the fact that everybody's a lazy, let's just face it, 99% of the world, 99.99% of the world that wants to do photography, they're too freaking lazy to take an SD card out, stick it in their freaking computer, process it, they got to learn. Nobody has time for that. Well, actually they do. They're just lazy, The only people that have time for that are really hobbyist photographers and the professionals that are getting paid. This is a serious, and this bodes really, really well for Fujifilm, by the way. Really well. I know you think I'm a Fujifilm fanboy, and I am to a great extent, but that's because I love really good stuff. And Fujifilm is the good S-H-I-Z. There we go. Fujifilm is the good stuff. Is that like all Nikon's, just using Nikon as an example, Nikon's huge photographic spectrum of sales is all in the dinky garbage. The D3000, the D5000 series cameras, that is the majority of Nikon's income on photographic cameras, and that is a big, holy crap, that's a big problem. Because what is happening now, and people are starting to realize it, but why has no one made a video like this before? Is what is happening now, due to everybody being lazy with their iPhones and whatnot, is that all of these dinky cameras, the garbage cameras, which, yeah, I'm sorry if you have one, I'm sorry, but they're basically amateur garbage cameras. They're the ones you see at Walmart. Buy a D5300 with a cheap garbage lens with a plastic mount, yeah, $530. And the output, of course, is way better than a cell phone, but people are too lazy to pack a camera around. They just are. They're lazy. And the only thing they post to is Facebook and Instagram. And it's like, well, 12 megapixels, which is what this is, 12 megapixel. Crap dynamic range, but the average person is too lazy to give a damn. What's happening now is that all these cheap junk cameras, Olympus makes really tough little cameras, but they're just little micro four thirds cameras. I don't care how tough the Olympus cameras are, and I love Olympus. I actually really do love Olympus. But this is not going to work. It can't survive. That stuff is not going to make it. This is a perfect analogy of what Olympus is. I can't remember what the hell this car is, but it came out in this. I'm not a car expert by any means. A car came out in the 80s, and it was like the best car ever as far as the ergonomics, the styling, the design, the build quality. But I think it was Ford or Chevy. It was like a hot rod. Man, this car's hot. It's awesome. Everything about it is awesome. It's like, oh my God. But it's got a tiny little freaking underpowered engine in it. And so now these cars today are collector's items, but if people buy them, they rip the motor out and they throw in a big motor. So it's an awesome car, but the Olympus is in the same boat as that. It's like, Olympus cameras are great. I've said that since day one, but they're not going to survive. They're not going to survive. I know how tough an Olympus camera is. I know how well made they are. I'm not ragging on Olympus. But that tiny little engine in there, it ain't going to work, because we are in right now the exact same thing that happened in the days of film. Okay, where the only thing that held fast, and Nikon and a few other entities like Canon were still making for a good while there, hardcore professional film cameras. And a perfect example, and I had two Nikon D4Ss, by the way. The Nikon, D4S, excuse me, Nikon F4Ss. Hello. Hello, I own two of those, McFly. I remember sleeping with that camera. I had that in photography school, and I bought another one. Man, I love my Nikon F4S. Nikon came out with a F5. After digital had fully smacked everybody in the face, Nikon still came out with an F5 because it was a hardcore professional film camera. And, you know, it's an awesome piece of machinery. So what's going to happen now, going forward, is that Nikon, and they're suffering it now, is all those little dinky garbage cameras, D5000, D3000 series cameras. Yeah, which they do have better output than these, but people are too lazy. That stuff is dying hard and fast. Nikon knows it, and everybody else is making stuff like that, including everything that Olympus makes, which is why Olympus is in such jeopardy, even though they make such well-built cameras, and I've always said that. So now everything is either going to be a hobbyist level camera, or it's going to be the hardcore pro digital going forward, which means that Nikon is not doing anything wrong by coming out with a D6 digital, hardcore professional digital camera. Also, too, this bodes extremely well for Fujifilm. Now, Fujifilm does make some cheaper cameras, for example, you know, some. You can't really actually call the XT30. XT30 is like if someone, and I tell this to people, it's like, I'm just getting into photography, I really love it. What's the best bang for the buck? Well, you want new or used, and you know, if it leads a certain direction, I say, well, get like an XT30 Fujifilm and a lens or two. You know, like a couple used lenses and a brand new XT30. I mean, that's cheap. That's like a hard, you know, that's, I can't say hardcore amateurish or hardcore hobbyist, but I mean, that's a really, really, I mean, that's something anybody, and I have an XT30, would be very, very happy with for years and years to come. It's like you could either progress more into photography, but you got a camera that's future-proof. So far, I mean, its capabilities are excellent. Fujifilm is poised perfectly for that. I think that they saw this better, way better than Nikon or Canon did. Canon has a lot, just like Nikon, nowhere near as many as Nikon. Nikon has an enormous amount of those junk, as I call them, dinky cameras. And that's going the way of the pooper. Everything really is evolving into, you either have some hardcore shiz, like a GFX or an XT3 or a Nikon D6 or Canon's next flagship model, or you got a freaking Samsung or iPhone. That's it. I mean, it's the exact same thing that happened. When did that happen? When did the Nikon D3 come out? Actually, it happened like a couple years before the Nikon D3 came out. Everybody saw the writing was on the wall, film was dead. Then all of film cameras, you know, and went hardcore professional. That's the only thing that kept surviving, and it is still surviving. However, large format film is really expensive. Like E6 4x5 back in the day, 1991, when I was in photography school, it was, what was it? It was $1 a sheet. Sometimes you get it on discount for 50. Now it's $50 a sheet. Ah! So it's gone from $1 to $50 a sheet. Stuff is magical, by the way. But that's what's happening, and I'm 100% right on this. What's happening now is mimicking exactly what happened when digital clashed with the days of film. Basically, all the crap, you know, went into the pooper, into the trash can, and the only thing that survived is the hardcore stuff. The only other thing that survived is the significant hobbyist cameras. You can't actually call an XT2 and XT3 a hobbyist camera, but it's priced like that, actually. Actually, there's not another camera company that's more brilliantly poised than Fujifilm right now, because they have the perfect set of hardcore hobbyists. Now, as much as the XT3 is a really professional tool, and I have one, and it is priced at and has all the features perfect for, you know, someone that's really into photography, which means they're not making money at it, you know? You know, my buddy over in Paris, France, I mean, he's got several XT3s, and he shoots for Vogue and Elle. I mean, he's doing hardcore pro work for it. And I'm not saying it's not a pro camera, but what it is and what it's priced for, He also has GFX cameras, by the way, so, you know, like these cameras. This one, of course, is a full spectrum conversion, and it's a Fujifilm. But you remember back in the day when you go to Best Buy and they had like 40, 50 different, you know, Sony, Fujifilm, Olympus, a lot of these little point and poop cameras. Those have all gone. Boo! They're gone. They're just forever gone. Yeah. And so that's what's going on now. We got a shrinking market, and it's just going to be the hardcore pro stuff, and the enthusiasts. They say enthusiasts. I would call them advanced amateur, but who gives a damn what you actually call them? Those cameras are, you know, continuing to the foreseeable in perpetuity. That, you know, next 10 years at least. So digital cameras are going to be no different than film was. But now, instead of a fight between digital and film, like it was back in the, you know, early 2000s, doesn't matter where you make the line there, 2000, 2005, everything is just a fight between one form of digital, the hardcore pro stuff, and everybody else, and I'm included, you know, we're just too lazy, you know. I don't want to sit there and you know, not meaning me, but everybody else. Like, I just post to Instagram and Facebook. I just take a picture with my iPhone. 12 megapixels, this camera is the same, even though the dynamic range on this sucks in comparison, you know, and everything else. The Nikon D3 is a 12 megapixel camera. If you have decent lighting, you know, the images from an iPhone look fine. People, you know, generally, you know, when they're taking pictures with an iPhone, they're really not concerned about dynamic range. You know, you got tiny ass little photo sites on this thing. No one's confused that this thing has horrific dynamic range relative to a real camera. Of course it does. You know, this is why Olympus is doomed. Even though I love Olympus and how well people keep telling me that all the time. Oh, Olympus is such great. Yes, Olympus is a really great camera. It's made so well. But it's just like that frigging hot rod car that Ford or whoever the hell came out with. Someone's going to tell me what damn car it was. Came out with, like, it's awesome, it's built so well, it's sexy, it's hot. It's like, oh my god, the engine in it sucks. They're just not going to make it with the Micro Four Thirds. There's not. Micro Four Thirds has been irrelevant now for a decade plus. How they've survived this long. I'm actually surprised Pentax didn't fold up already like a cheap card table. I really thought Olympus would be after Pentax, but I've been predicting this for years. Like, Pentax is going to fold any time. Nobody's buying a Pentax camera. Nobody's buying an Olympus camera either. Someone's going to say, well, I own an Olympus. Look, well, yeah, you do, but in the spectrum of things, nobody's buying a damn Olympus camera. Sorry, they're just not. You know, sorry to hurt your feelings, but they're not. But Nikon is in serious trouble also because I forget what percentage it is. I used to know the specifics. Something like 80% of their camera sales is that dinky garbage. D3000, D5000 series. And people aren't buying that anymore. It's like, hey, screw it. You know, it's 12 megapixel camera. My iPhone's good enough. Or your Samsung, whatever the hell. Surely not your BlackBerry. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a nice day. And I'm glad I made this video because everything I said in this video is accurate. No one else has mentioned these facts. Not that I know of, anyway. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day. Wait for it. This is a full-spectrum Fujifilm camera. This is $40 of fun. I picked this up for $40. It's a $20 camera, but a guy did a full-spectrum conversion on it. But I could have done a full-spectrum conversion on it, too, but I would rather pay $20 to have someone do it. And I don't have the time for that. Someone took a lot of time. It still takes a lot of time to remove the filters, the IR hot filter and the UV blocking filter off this thing. Yeah, I'll pay someone else $20. That's worth $20 of my time. It's a fun little camera. Makes interesting images. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Mic drop.